Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 6:30. WMAL.
It's 8:07 on the Morning Majority, and we're here with Tobin Smith, who you see all the time on Fox Business Network. And he is a Fox News contributor.
He's a pretty funny dude. He actually lives in Montgomery County, I believe.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah, he's a local. Pretty sure he is.
Yeah, apparently we're reconnecting with him because the call dropped. He'll be with us in just a moment.
Tobin is trying to escape, but we will noodle him.
That's right. Listen, it was a rough day on the Dow yesterday. It wasn't long ago where we were flirting with 13,000. And now the Dow sits at 10,809, dropping a total of 634 points yesterday. That's a 5.5% loss.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's a tremendous drop.
I will say this. I mean, sometimes that's not the end of the world. A month from now, we could be looking at it and it's back over 11,000, maybe close to 12,000, and may take a couple of weeks. So that doesn't concern me as much as, going into recession again and whether or not we're going to create jobs, because, you can make up that money and you can make up that money lost in the stock market pretty quickly.
Yeah, but I think people close to retirement, obviously, they're trying to make up ground from what happened in 2008, feeling pretty good, and
feeling good about things,
and then it drops out on you, and so that's
trust me, don't get me wrong.
Feeling.
I mean, I don't want to see it happen. I just think that we get caught up too much in what the Dow and the Nasdaq do, and there are other things that are equally as important, if not more important, and that is the overall health of the economy. And still, job creation is the number one thing that's going to really kick this economy back up. And I don't see that happening no matter what the Dow does in the next couple of days.
Well, we have snared Tobin Smith.
He can run, but he cannot hide.
Fox Business and Fox News contributor. How are you doing, Tobin?
I'm good, man. They cut me off. It's not my fault.
No problem. You probably inherited that cutoff from President Bush.
No. I'm a Democrat now. I take no personal responsibility for anything.
So, were you inspired by the president's speech yesterday? We've been talking about that. It was apparently an attempt to sort of give us a pep talk. There wasn't much in it. What do you think the point of that was, and how'd you feel about it?
Well, I thought the funniest thing I thought was that there was such a cadence to it that we were sitting around and we were saying, "Oh, wait a minute, hang on, it's going to come. All right, here it's come, and we're going to have new taxes, and that's going to help us in this." It was so predictable that scared the bejesus out of me. The second thing was that was scary in that it doesn't feel like he understands what his role is in a time like this. And to get up and sort of speak again with the scolding, blaming, voice is not the leadership voice. The voice, I could have done it in 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, life is not coming to an end. As a matter of fact, if you look at a number of statistics we had in the last couple of weeks, we're doing just fine. Here's what is a problem. We need to solve some of these problems that we haven't been able to solve. And here's what I'm going to do to help us solve it. Click.
Right.
And so that was what worries me. I guess there was a couple of times where they said in the speech that they removed at the last second, the billionaires and millionaires thing.
Are you kidding me? Were they going to go down that path? Unbelievable.
Yeah, they said they pulled it out at the last second, quote unquote, which so that probably worries me. So then when there's market mechanism, guys, and then there's the economy, and we should never confuse the market with the economy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Our economy, with a 0.4%, go back to your statistics 101. There's a 5% plus or minus number here. So we undoubtedly are in a flat economy, and undoubtedly at the margin, the 20% of the Americans who consume 60% of all our discretionary stuff are going to pull back here a little bit. So it's very likely that we're going to have a slight double dip. The market is trying to price that in, because remember, the market heretofore up to two weeks ago was pricing in 3% GDP growth in the second quarter. That ain't going to happen. And so the market has to price 6 months ahead. That's what the market does. And so what we got was a correction that we needed to correct, and then the political instability threw some wrenches in, and then the markdown made some other things happen that people who borrowed money to buy these things had to sell. So that creates a self-reinforcing downward spiral. That's called a snap, ugly, bad correction.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's going to stop at the point where stocks are cheap. And I can tell you right now, if you had a choice of buying a 30-year bond yielding, less than 3% for 30 years, or 6 top-rated, AAA-rated, corporate stocks that are yielding over 4%, that is the built-in buffer.
Right.
All right, let me ask you this. I mean, so much of the market is driven by emotion.
Sure.
I mean, and the psychology is I mean, people are really sort of down in the dumps. The sort of everything that's going on with the debt debate that we saw in Washington, and you put on top of that this downgrade by Standard & Poor. It's just like people don't have any confidence in the economy. Does that mean that we've hit the bottom and now maybe it will even out, or is there some more psychology that can drive this market lower?
Well, Brian, this is going to happen over a 4 to 6 week period. This doesn't happen, it happens so quickly because of a confluence of events. But I always think of Standard & Poor being now the guardian of righteousness is sort of like, going to a whorehouse to cure the clap. It's not
elegantly
really
put there, Tobin.
Does that work?
Thank you. Oh. Yeah. It's just not the place, and so for someone to go into anaphylactic shock over the S&P downgrade just doesn't make sense. There was more to it than that, and and then of course, ironically, or maybe not ironically, when the S&P said that the United States was a little less creditworthy, where did all the money in the world go to?
To American treasuries,
right? So I think that probably proves itself. It's like Occam's razor, right? If the easiest answer is the right one. The easiest answer is that S&P really feels that this is part of their recovery. They need to prove themselves, to be the smartest guys in the room, and so they went ahead with this. The other rating agencies haven't done it, and the world has voted with its feet. Europe is having some real problems, and you have to go through the fact that our banks. This is not 2008. Our banks, raised the capital, whether you agree or disagree with our, TARP, et cetera. By the way, TARP at the end of the day made us money. Let's not forget that. It created this moral hazard that is a whole other issue, but it did not lose us money. And the European banks didn't do that. The European banks have stayed off. The ECB stayed off of their of proactivity. So you're going to see a very proactive ECB. They're going to take as much out of the Fed book as you can. And oh, by the way, the big thing hanging out here is QE3, quantitative easing 3. What is the Fed going to do here? We were sitting and having this exact conversation last year at this exact time. If you look at the charts of the stocks, and all of a sudden we had the Jackson Hole meeting, and Bernanke stood up and said, "We're going to do some cool stuff here," and all of a sudden we had a run. I reduced that slightly, and I really do think that you can't see QE through the way we thought it was going to be, because that is what got everybody buying commodities and shorting the dollar and so on and so forth. So they're going to do something. It just ain't going to be like they did last time. All
right. Well, listen, Tobin Smith, a contributor to the Fox News Channel, the Fox Business Network. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning Majority.
All right, guys.
Always a pleasure.